Hello, everyone. How are you? I invite Lee and your Tai Chi examiner. Today, I'm delighted, and because I have two friends here with me, and one is Sean Tucker. Sean, you want to wave your hand? Yes, great. Sean and I, we know each other for decades, even though I don't know very old myself. I'm just kidding. And because he's brilliant ideas and his bubbling personality, he always bring the vibe to every occasion, right? So he and I, we have collaborated on many different projects, and mostly it's on the so-called annual Chinese Culture Day at a beautiful, beautiful Missouri Botanical Garden. And Sean, he is the probably most sought after physical therapist in the greater St. Louis area. And he built a very successful business, and it's called Brentwood Center of Health, and later on acquired by SSN Health, right? Am I right? And
You're exactly right. Yes.
yeah, he continues to contribute to the society by either in his professional or doing a lot of volunteer work. And again, here in the studio with us, I have my new friend and Professor Rumi Price here with us. And I have so much respect for Professor Rice. She is a professor emeritus of the psychiatry. I cannot psychiatry department at the University of St. Louis of Medicine, and she has a very prominent how should I say career, and she has done a lot of clinical research studies, and her expertise area, and including but not limited to human trafficking, both domestically, internationally. And she's an expert on the PTSD and trauma. She has helped to build some kind of so-called implementation type of devices, mobile device, to help people and especially veterans to deal with the issues, the trauma. And so I met her, right, Professor Price, the first time in Boston at the end of April, when both you and including Sean, we were attending the second Tai Chi and Qigong for Whole Person Health Conference hosted by OSHA Center for Integrated Medicine or Harvard Medical School. And but you were busy and I was busy as well. I did not have the chance to talk to you very much. However, I did glance your poster presentation and at a conference. And the topic is called Untold Story of Childhood Trauma, a Tai Chi and Qigong intervention to improve mental health and chronic pain in adulthood. When I saw the title, I said, whoa, what a bold and interesting topic. And I think this is probably at the forefront for treating the many of the adulthood chronic issues and pains, and because of the early childhood experience or trauma. And I'm definitely not an expert in this area at all. So as an expert, Professor Price, can you just explain a little bit why people have chronic issues like pain and some others? Because something happened during the childhood. How does that connection was ever been discovered? And then, yeah, Can you just shed some light and for us? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Violet. Thank you for introduction. I should say that before I got into human trafficking, I also studied a veterans population from Vietnam, Iraq, and also Afghanistan. So it is a accumulation of my own experience studying veterans and learning from Shawn as a physical therapist that I came to the understanding that chronic pain is deeply rooted in their own experience in adulthood. So, until, you're born and you come into physical therapy in the mid 50s or 60s. By that time, your body accumulates a lot of stuff. And in just a couple of words, your body keeps the score.
I
And
see.
some of those scores are not necessarily physical, but associated with physical part that you experienced and you had adverse childhood experiences. So actually, a patient who we interviewed who understood, here's the part that I was restrained and I don't have any physical injury to that, but that's where I have pain in the body. But that
Whoa.
pain actually comes from her brain of remembering what has happened to her when she was a child.
So again, like I say, this topic is near and dear to my heart because recently I have, explored in this area. I found it just fascinating, and because the childhood issues, and a lot of time we're not even aware of. So how did you guys come up with this idea and to do this pilot research?
Okay, so I don't know where Sean is. So so it's the combination of his knowledge and intuition as a physical therapist and my own academic background studying traumatized population over close to 3 decades. So as a physical therapist, come on, Sean, physical therapist. Sean Tucker often run into a patient who comes for physical therapy or say knees or whatever. And during the course of a treatment, they start talking. And they start talking about the particular pain they have. And then their brain starts working. So, okay, well, by the way, blah, 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 blah. Then start talking about their own childhood experience. When I first heard about that, I was just blown away. Just was blown away. Oh, here's the connection. Right? So then we looked at the literature, and sure enough, a lot of psychotherapists say that just the talk therapy is not good enough. You have to get to their body because the body remembers. So that's a school of thought in psychotherapy. And looking at the Tai Chi and the Qigong, I started last year. This is about a year and a half in my experience. I myself had a flashback of my own childhood in Japan, and please remember that the 1/3 of a U.S. population has significant enough childhood adversely they experience. That's a
One
large.
third.
Yeah,
One
well,
third.
it depends on the
Oh,
literature you look at. The 1/3. Yeah,
yeah.
it's not uncommon, and I don't know the exact number for the percentage of sexual abuse and physical abuse, but it's quite high. We just don't talk about it. So if that portion of the population experience childhood adversary event, then it's logical to focus once they reach the adulthood, something that they have not resolved, which is the trauma itself. So that's how we started conceiving some sort of a pilot study. And as you mentioned, that Harvard conference came up and were somehow accepted to do a poster. Okay, this is the best opportunity we could have. So that's how we started this TCQ assisted intervention paradigm.
Excellent. So this is excellent. And would you share with us how you all designed this pilot study, and then what's involved? And I understand. And Shawn, he is a great physical therapist, and he also has been practicing Tai Chi and Qigong for years, and he actually has created his own kind of brand of a so-called the Henyuan heart Qigong.
Open heart, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
open heart Qigong. And I remember back in the days, and he performed at a Missouri Botanical Garden during the Chinese Culture Day. And he led the audience and do the Qigong, and people really, really enjoying doing it. So that's good. So and tell us how you two collaborate, and what kind of modality you use, and then
Okay, I'll do my best. As far as TCQ goes, I'm still intermediate learner, so I do my best until Shawn pops up again. So we are lucky. As you mentioned, Shawn Tucker has been practicing TCQ over, I think, close to 4 decades now. And we also had a friend, Susan Taylor, who came from a different lineage. So she studied with the Lee Holden, and she also went to Thailand to study with the Mantak Chia, right?
Yes.
So her tradition is different from Chen style, which Shawn has been trained on. But they are, they can converse. So we have people who can do the intervention. That's number one. If you don't have the interventionist, then we can't do anything. And so we had people, and also Shawn has collaborated with sports medicine expert who now lives in Florida. So he joined it, and we used one of his scale to understand affect levels and stuff. I talk more about that. And then we had Jared Hugh, who now is in North Carolina, but I think you may have overlap in St. Louis. He studied in St. Louis. Yes, maybe it didn't overlap. Now he isn't there, but he and Shawn has been communicating. And when Jared, his real name is Shawn, I don't know how to pronounce it. When he's St. Louis, they practice together. So we had another practitioner who can't provide intervention, but can provide the Chinese context of it better than we can. I mean, you can do that too, but Jared is also working with the Chinese scholars. So with that, I thought we have a team. So people are most important. We had people, both researchers, including myself and the colleagues. And Kurt Locks is the one who went to University of Florida, North Florida. Sorry. So then some intuition. I already mentioned that the intuition that I learned from Shawn's physical therapy, that people are aware when they are getting the physical therapy. Somehow their brain is telling them, okay, your body is getting massaged, but your real reason is not, right? So that was the intuition. And I mentioned that to you, my own experience of a flashback while we are practicing at the forest park. And that brought me back to my time when I was 7 years old in the park, right? So without going into detail, that sense of coming back to the childhood memory, which I haven't had it for years. And on this, I had been laying down in the grass in the forest park. It couldn't have happened. But also, it couldn't have happened if it had not been just after we had a Tai Chi practice. So that told me, okay, there is something there that about the practice that connects my old memory that I don't usually think about. So Shawn, I was just talking about my flashback event at the first park. So that kind of gave me personally, okay, there's something there that we need to study. So, we had more conversations, and the rest is kind of a history. So I talked about the people, and we have two great teachers. My own flashback and my own background as a psychiatric epidemiologist focusing on trauma. And then lastly, when we looked at the literature, people were saying something similar. Somatic therapy, what's called the psychosomatic therapy. And as I mentioned, body keeps the score. And so psychotherapists said, well, movement-oriented therapy is needed. So, when you put those things together, it's not rocket science to come up with the type of intervention we thought about.
Right.
Excellent. Yeah. And Shawn, why you disappear for a little while?
Yes,
we all love technology, but technology is not always dependable. I understand that. Okay,
yeah, sure.
And I appreciate that you are taking your vacation time and to join us for this interview. And so I think it's great that now you show up, and Professor Price was talking about you guys conceived this idea, and wonderful, and I thought it's so interesting, and this is a new way to treat the people with a childhood trauma. It doesn't matter if it's a physical trauma or emotional trauma. Am I right? Right. So now how you design the protocol, and Shawn. And I understand you had a very short window because you have to present this poster at Harvard, right? And so you and another person, Susan, right? And you guys were doing that. Okay, Shawn, you're frozen. Oh no.
No, I'm not. Emerging Gong LLC is what we've developed, and it's our platform. We pull from three different great lineages of Taiji Chuan and Qigong. So my two co-teachers in the company is Susan Taylor and Jared He. Jared is an indoor student of Pang Ming. Susan studied with Mantak Chia, and of course, you know my lineage.
Yes, we talked a little bit before you joined.
Yeah, and so the protocol, how we decided to establish a focused treatment experience with this patient population, we took from all the lineages, and we created utilizing a format of treating people with trauma that actually comes out of the yoga tradition. When we talk about trauma-informed yoga, one of our teachers, Susan Taylor, is also certified and has a lot of experience working with the same issues and helping people utilizing a yoga approach. However, I want to say that everything we did was very much centered in Taoist Qigong. All three lineages we pull from have that central Chinese Qigong history.
Okay, but how do you? I'm kind of lost. You talk about yoga, and then yes, yoga is also energy work also, and actually they say yoga is a form of qigong. But then you are talking about if it's more traditional Chinese qigong. So how do you merge these two together and create the modality to
Well, I
actually
can't
work
speak to
with?
how. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think in the West there are many yoga practitioners or Tai Chi practitioners that just integrate both systems at the same time. In our study, what we did is we looked at the research and we looked at the format, a format of you want a mindfulness experience with movement. You want a chance for people to share their experience at the end of the Qigong class. There's a meditation component to each class. So we were able to, in this early study, we were able to pull from an already proved format, not the content, but the context by which the teaching occurs. And what we delivered, the content was very much based on Chinese Qigong.
Okay. So how long
It
is
all stemmed from the rich
mm-hmm.
approach of Chinese Qigong. Yeah.
So how long is the so-called class time or intervention time?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So we found that 75 minutes with a flow over of another 15 minutes for more engaged conversation by the students is very important. So you could say an hour and a half per
so
session.
but you do some physical movement first, and then
Yeah.
plus meditation, and then afterwards you have some kind of dialogue or narrative session. Is that how it was done?
Yes, and the dialogue was very much be opening, people sharing about their experience during a certain Qigong activity, what it meant to them. Maybe even some people in the class would share a personal experience, a past experience that came up if they felt comfortable. They would share something about that. But often, either myself or Susan, when we had the open conversation, we would hone in on a primary skill set we were working on that session.
I
Okay, a
see. Mm-hmm.
primary skill set, because we study Qigong and Tai Chi not for Tai Chi and Qigong's sake, but each individual, each human, to develop a very specialized way of making themselves better, of expressing their emotions, of being aware. And so these skill sets we would hone in on, and so there'd be a chance for sharing and education at the same time.
So it's you're
Yeah.
using the TCQ as a
Mm-hmm.
tool for them to open up, and then
Yes.
so they can talk about their experience. Am I right on this?
Yes. And even if they don't talk about it, to be in a safe situation, especially for the female veterans to feel very safe within themselves, around each other during this class, there's a process. They come in a certain way of being, and at the end of it, if they feel more relaxed, if they feel more in touch and centered, they build on that through their day. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the big question as we move ahead and we take this fitness health activity project to the level of research, we want to further define, not just methodology, but what is going to be the system by which we do some initial education, gives people some initial experience of qigong, and then afterwards, how do we work with them to integrate that into their lives and to keep in their practice. This is very important. We have to do. The research we're about to embark on is research designed to support healthcare equity, healthcare policy, and best practice. It's not just research for research's sake.
Understand?
And
Yes,
I think
I
at the
see the
core, that yeah.
yeah, I do
Go ahead.
see the
Sorry.
potential of this method, and I think it could be very beneficial for so many people, and without fringe on anybody's privacy. But can you talk a little bit how you recruit you mentioned the veterans, right? And then there is condition, and so to speak, and So then, can you address that a little bit?
Well, I'd like to co-address that with Rumi. I'll initiate and then the answer, and then Rumi can continue. The reason why we're working with female vets is because of a commitment I made to start working with a group of a veteran association group called Grunt Style Foundation. And Grunt Style, they have I got to know a lot of the people that are part of their community. And more women, once more and more of the female veterans would come up to me at different retreats and say, we want more. We really want a Qigong class. We want a Qigong for us specifically. And so that's how we got into the general stuff. That's when I really stepped in and started to look at the epidemiological information around this specific patient population. And one thing I realized in getting to know the different veterans is that many of them that are really struggling with mental health issues that are affecting their quality of life. Not only are they warriors and have those experiences, but many of them also suffer from early childhood trauma.
So the candidate or the people participate in your pilot study, and so would you be able to say their problem is because early childhood, not because their experience on the war zone?
I hear what direction you're going with. One is that you got to remember, I don't know if, and I'll let Rumi I'm going to pass the baton to Rumi with the idea of what we were doing was actually a pilot study, or was it actually a different model? Rumi, go ahead.
Yes. So, and the things that we have not discussed is that in order to do this pilot quality improvement study within the context and sponsored by Emerging Gong, for which I'm the co-owner, it has to be done in the LLC level, not to bring it to the research to begin with. So what we needed to know was that we have a pilot respondents whom we call the informants. So informants is a word that I use when we are in the formative stage and we recruit people who knows the subject matter, their own experience. So we're able to recruit 2 people, and we knew from the other context that they had some mental health issues as well as they had chronic pain. So that was important for us, that we know them and that they had both problems. Now, because this is in part research, we did a pre-TCQ assessment, and during which what we did was to prime their brain, so to speak, by exposing their brain to some past event. And as a trauma researcher, I'm trained on the exposure theory and therapy, and that's sort of like that. What we did was sort of like that. So they would actually look at their own past and discuss with us some of it, not all of it, and some people are not ready. And as a matter of fact, one person wasn't quite ready, so this person kind of hopped around it, but never really told us exactly what was really bothering her. But that's all right. And so the purpose was to bring them back to what happened in the childhood in a way that's safe and by trying the personnel. And then Shawn is an expert on this to provide the motivations for doing a TCQ by motivational interviewing. So they would have a specific goals they wanted to achieve through the sessions, and we provided a little bit of incentives and a gift card and things like that. So that's how we prepared them to go into the 6 sessions of TCQ. And then that's very important because you can't just throw them into the TCQ sessions. So that's what we did. Shawn, is that the kind of things you want me to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for, giving us a clear understanding.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, I should say, but it turns out, just by happenstance, that both of them had very complicated chronic pain syndromes, as well as rather severe problems, or their self-reported problem of PTSD.
I see. Okay. So, so can you speak on maybe Shawn or Rumi? You want to talk about the intervention? How a little bit more detail. You mentioned about it's about an hour and a half time, and each time. So how many times do you guys meet, and for how long?
Yeah,
and
sure.
so forth.
Yes. Well, it was 6 sessions for each individual. 5 of the sessions for each individual were group sessions, and each individual had one-on-one or individual session with myself and or Susan Taylor. And that it took us that was over about a 2.5 month period.
I see. So
yeah.
So then you were saying you have a dialogue session in each time you meet, and then that's also done right after the TCQ part. Okay.
Yes.
So I read your poster, and then you say there were several objectives this study trying to accomplish. And then one is a patient able to disclose their childhood trauma? Is patient able to connect physical pain to early trauma? Do Qigong sessions show perceived improvement on mental health and well-being? And last one is the patient able to attribute their improvement to TCQ. So were you guys able to accomplish this? I know it's a very short study, and unlike some other studies, they do for several months, and each week they will meet the people for at least 3 times a week. So can you share some
I really
results
wish,
with us?
yeah. Well, at this moment, I wish we had another colleague on the call, and that would be Dr. Kurt Locks, because he's also a researcher, and we utilized his 4-dimensional questionnaire as one of the aspects of our outcomes analysis. But since he's not here, because I took the role as teacher, I'm not actually qualified right now to objectively assess whether we met those goals or not. So I'm gonna have Rumi answer that.
Yeah. I'm happy to step in.
Rumi, I'm passing the ball to Rumi.
But don't drop out.
Thank you, Rumi.
Yeah, stay in the camera.
Okay. All right. I won't go get a milkshake or anything.
Okay, so I answer your questions in 2 ways. So we set up those goals to be quote unquote humble, because this is a small sample study, and we did not even know that they would talk to us in their own heart. So first question, can they actually tell us, what they have experienced? One person did not even remember exactly what happened, but she has a very clear memory and was able to communicate what is bothering her most. And another person, it was a little bit more vague, stretched over years, but she was also able to tell us as honest as she could do. Although in the end, when we did the post-TCQ assessment, she said she has not told anybody about it. And she's now beginning to talk about her childhood. So the answer to the first question is definitely yes. In the right context, people tell you. And as a matter of fact, in the previous studies, hey, doc, you're the only person who I told you about this. So that happens a lot. Okay, other objectives. So the last one, so the next 3 or 4, yes, 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 yes. We're able to meet those objectives. Last one. Yes, thank you.
Congratulations. This is so exciting. And then,
Now, last
we can,
question, last question,
yes,
last
yes.
question, last question. Do they have the cognition to link their own childhood trauma to the pains they're experiencing? No. One person had some idea, but that came from her experience of doing other things, like a yoga and some like a cold plunge or whatever. But the other person, no, she was not able to link that. So that would require, in our opinion, further integration, either the repeated exposure to TCQ or further follow-up, and gradually educate them, and they have to understand in their own light. Okay, I understand why I am having the pain. It's not the pain per se. It's not the physical injury. Maybe part of it, but it's just up here, and I need to fix what's bothering me most from the childhood. Okay, I'm done on those first objectives. Second one, second answer. So Shawn mentioned Dr. Carl Locks. So he had this beautiful scale, self-report, but the factor analyzed a 4-dimensional scale. And what it tried to do is to assess different aspect of self-efficacy, affect, and physical fatigue and things like that in the scales that are validated by previous studies. And according to our informants' self-report, after the 6 TCQ sessions, they improved tremendously. Now, we did not run the statistics because, I know too, what can you do? But you can visually see, and it's in the poster, visually see that kind of like a trauma tumor kind of shrinks over the 6 weeks. So that was surprising to me. I did not expect as a researcher to be able to see something like that.
So when you say the tumor shrink, is there you see it through MRI or
No. I'm sorry. It was just a metaphor.
okay.
It's a psychological tumor that you have not really dealt with, and over time it kind of grows and it stays in your brain, and it shows up and affect how good you feel about yourself, how fatigued you are, how much of sleep you're getting, so on and so forth. So that those dimensions that are organized in a certain scale, kind of, initially it was one of the our respondent had the maximum of everything, but after 6 sessions, we went like this. So I got this image of a tumor shrinking, and that's what I have. Freudian slip.
Well, thank you for clarifying.
Right. And the second, importantly, we also had a very validated screener for PTSD. It's an 8-point scale, but it's a brilliant scale. And that did not change for either of them. So, we talked about it, and, Shawn, you think the dosage is not good enough. There are other reasons, and my feeling of it is the 6 weeks is just not long enough. Again, you need a longer duration of integration period, by which to reorganize your brain and improve your neuroregulation. Maybe Shawn, you can talk about that, your own thinking. Yeah. You want to do that?
Yes, definitely. I mean, through the years, I've done courses at 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 12 weeks. The research literature is looking at the role of TCQ in any health direction, it varies from 6 weeks to 18 weeks, 24 weeks. We
They
don't.
also meet more
Yeah, go ahead.
frequent.
Go ahead, Violet.
I
Yeah.
said they also meet more frequent. It's not just
Right.
once a week.
Right.
You did was once a week, right?
Right.
And then if
Right.
you can increase the frequency or dosage in that sense, maybe 6 weeks will be plenty. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah. It's just what's so exciting is that it can look, as long as we have our intentions correctly and we're really clear about our mission, then we're going to figure out what is the best dosage. And once we, with this research, once we get clarity on what are the specific lengths of time and number of times that optimize the improvement for the human, I'm excited because we can extrapolate what we're going to learn and bring it into how do we distribute. And I can't be excited enough to know what's available with us virtually. And so the real question that Rumi and I and our colleagues are talking about is how do we deliver? What mechanism we deliver? I mean, there's nothing, and this I think is probably being talked about in general in the TCQ research world, violently, because you've taught virtually, and you know what that experience is. I've taught virtually.
Yes.
And we've also taught in person. We've also learned virtually from other people. We've also learned in person. What's in your experience? What is the better method for learning Tai Chi and Qigong, virtually or live, or does it depend on the individual?
I think it depends on individual, like you said.
Yeah.
It also depends on the how should I so-called the form, and I'm working with them, and so it all varies, and then in some ways, and virtual actually could be more effective, because if I'm saying, well, look at my hand, okay, turn this way, turn that way, and this is because it's occupy the entire screen, so really make them focus. And but if I'm standing in front of them, I'm doing this, and they see my whole body. They're not zooming, but with camera, I can zoom in and force them to see that. So in certain ways, this is more effective. And yeah, it all depends. And I'll be happy to know and know how you actually later on find out the best delivery mechanism, and that will be excellent.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and it's such a great time right now to be part of a project like this with Rumi and the other people on our team, because we already have so many models, and we've already people working in these different portals of delivery. That we can, I think we're going to come up with just an amazing next phase of the study. I really do.
I have whole faith in your team. I think it's wonderful, and I know you are on vacation right now, Shawn, with your family, and Rumi, you have a couple meetings to attend, right? And so I really appreciate that you spend your valuable time with us
Thank you.
to share a very exciting study, and I wish you best of luck, and move forward with this in a big way, and then can help so many people. Yes, and there are a
Thank
lot
you.
of issues, health issues, not just chronic pains, and there's things, you see the doctor, they refer you to the other one, and they can never pinpoint the real underlying problem. And there are many people, scientists do research on that, and like Dr. John Isano. And of course, his approach of solving the problem is different than yours. And then there's Professor Elder Rolf, and she has her persistent to do that. And now I hear you guys have this. I think your method is a very so-called non-threatening way, and if that can work, that will be excellent. Yeah, we need more
Thank you.
people like you guys with brand and passion to solve these big problems, right? Okay. Well, thank you all very, very much for coming. And then before we leave, and any last words or wisdom you want to share with the audience?
Yes, it so happened that the guys working the drilling outside, at the worst time. So I'm not sure if you can hear that.
Yes, I did.
Well, I'm so sorry. I kind of, muted myself. But thank you for your invitation. And, we hope to see you in St. Louis in October under the auspices of Emerging Gongs. And we will have good practice sessions at that time.
Sounds, something really fun, and I'm looking forward to it. And thank you all very much again for joining us. And everyone, if you're out there or watching this video or reading the article accompanying this one, and please send us your comment and a suggestion, okay? And if you like it, please share with your friends and family and social media. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.